Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into Revolution Radio on 8 p.m. Tuesday nights. So this is the IDVOX Report.
Love that music, people. Love that music. Midnight Transit, we love you. Yo, what's up? My name is Dalamon Jenkins. This is Brian Powers to my left, and rather to my right, I guess. And this is, in fact, the IDVOX Report. Christian cannot be here today, but because of the storm that went through, knocked all his power out. It just happened too. Just happened. Yeah.
Is it on its way up here? Because we need some more rain, man. I'll take it.
I guess it's on its way up there. I mean, sadly, I think it has something to do with the hurricane that they're dealing with down in down south. So we're getting like bits and pieces of that, and we got a little bit of a cloudburst. I don't know if it's raining anymore right now, but the skies are still pretty dark, and they're not normally dark at this time of day. In this season. So we just have to make do with what we want, but don't worry, do with what we have. I should say do with what we want. Christian is going to be on the show because we're going to be talking because we pre-recorded a interview with a woman who wants to talk about a case involving Stanislav Tomasz. Now, if you saw the commercial for this program, you know that that is the gentleman that was murdered by the police out in the Czech Republic. And he was murdered in the same fashion that George Floyd was murdered, with a knee to his neck, just 6 days before Derek Chauvin was convicted of that murder. He was they killed him in 5 minutes, 55 seconds. That's how long it took for them to do it. So they don't get a lot of They don't have a large population in the Czech Republic. The Roma people are the ones that are being targeted by the police out there. And they are getting a lot of people noticing this particular case throughout Europe. Europe is all about this case, simply because it was videotaped. Really, I have to tell you, we should not have to wait until there's a video out to do something about bad cops. But sadly, that is the case. But we got to do something about that. That's one of the many things we got to do something about.
Do they have this? I know you interviewed her, but I was wondering, like, this is about the Roma people. I should probably wait till after the interview. But Roma people throughout Europe are experiencing this problem, or are we seeing it just in a certain country or two, or is this kind of like a European Union wide issue?
From what Gwendolyn was saying, and that's what we're going to be speaking to Gwendolyn Albert. She's an American that's living in the Czech Republic. She says that it depends on where you are, really. I mean, Roma people are catching hell all over Europe, but as small a population as they are in the Czech Republic, in this particular town, I guess, it's really bad. It's really bad. So we're going to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it, and hopefully we can give them the support that they gave us. I mean, I think that's one of the things America doesn't know about this case, really. It just happened. But I'm wondering if we, in fact, would have even talked about this case. I know that there was, and I think I have a video of it. Let me see if I can find it. I know that there was a small acknowledgement. It was a rally. It was definitely a rally in New York. Leah, if you could post the video that I just put up. There was a small rally in New York where they brought up the for Stanislav Tomasz. So this was in NYC. I can't recall the date, but remember, this only happened just a couple of weeks ago.
And that's a flag of the Roma people there, so people are watching on the live stream. That is the flag of the Roma people with the blue and green and the wheel and so.
And by the way, I just remembered it happened on Juneteenth. So.
Oh wow.
So all the more reason why we're going to be all about it. So I wish I was aware of this case beforehand, and I do apologize that I don't have an article that I wanted to post onto IDVOX. But go to minorityrights.org. You're going to see the link as soon as I give it to Leah to post. Um, this will tell you the story about what happened. But you're going to hear the story in a couple of minutes. So we're going to shut this down, and we're going to talk about the other things that we got to talk about before we get out of here. Tomorrow, Brian, you're going to be talking about the Mount Laurel case, correct?
Yeah, man. For those of you that haven't seen what happened in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, it's a case when keeping it real goes wrong, and
very wrong.
Some racist dummy decided to give his dumb address out to a whole world of people after using the N-word repeatedly at his neighbor's doorstep. And what can I say, man? Jersey showed up. I was, of course, embarrassed, to have my state represented by this guy, but also by the same token, proud of the response from the community. And he caught an orange soda to the face, and we'll see where we're at. We of course have our comrade. We'll cue it up. We'll cue it we will cue these things up tomorrow night on NJR Live. But I was actually just going to take like a half a week off and do an intro, but this went on, and it just so happens that a comrade of the show, Siobhan Torres, some of you may have heard her before on the program. She's been involved in environmental and all kinds of activism, but this was like in her neighborhood, close by to where she resides. So she was there on the scene, and she's been involved with and so hopefully she'll have a little bit of inside track for us. So if you've been in New Jersey and you've been following the Mount Laurel racist case, we're going to give you whatever we can get from some local activists there on the ground. But it was, like I said, it was a mix. At first, we were horrified and offend anybody with a conscience or any kind of empathy in them would have been offended and horrified by what they saw, seeing that guy use that language to his neighbor on their doorstep. Can you imagine having, and supposedly now the rumors are flying. I don't want to give unconfirmed reports, but it does sound like this guy's got a bit of a history of harassment and has been known to say, what are you going to do? Call the cops? Because I know all the cops. It could be just a guy talking shit because the cops did arrest him on some charges, and we'll see where it goes. But again, tune in tomorrow night, NJR Live, 8 p.m. right here where you're watching the Idavox Report, and Siobhan Torres is going to be on, and she'll give us the skinny on what's going on.
And what I would say to that, incidentally, is it's a damn shame that it took this for the police to actually do something about this character. He's been doing this for 3 years, and him boasting about him knowing the cops once again puts it on the cops. Because the truth of the matter is they should have done something a long time ago. It should not have gone this far. But then again, what you saw on Monday is the fact that ultimately we protect ourselves. So, and speaking of which, we most certainly protected ourselves from Patriot Front on the 4th of July, on the 4th of July. And let me explain. First, let me explain who Patriot Front is right quick. Patriot Front is a group that's based out of Fort Worth, Texas. They was originally a part of, they were members of a group called Vanguard America, and they broke off after Charlottesville. Vanguard America was one of the organizations that helped put together the so-called Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville 4 years ago. Well, after all the hell broke loose after that, and all the organizers started catching hell for putting that together, Thomas Rousseau, some punk-ass 19, 20-year-old kid who ran the website for Vanguard America, took the website, changed it to that of Patriot Front, started his own group with some members that wanted to break away from Vanguard America. And basically what Patriot Front does is it's stickers. You've probably seen the stickers all over the place. People scrape them down, or they get some news on it. They get some news coverage of it. And they have their website where they brag about how they tagged a city or a neighborhood somewhere. That's pretty much the bulk of their existence, with the exception of something else. Every now and again, they all meet in a certain area of the country, jump into vans or rental trucks, or the backs of rental trucks, jump out, do a flash mob march through said town, jump back into their cars, jump back into their vans or rental trucks, and it's all for a photo op. And because people don't know that they're showing up, they're not prepared to do anything about it. So all we get to do is just see them post videos about how they were triumphant against said said city.
They're delusional as fuck.
Yes, they are. But they're pissing people off.
So it's just a photo op. I mean, I don't want to give these guys
all they do.
organized.
This is all they can do. Yeah. But see, they started pissing people off now.
Well, yeah,
because
they pissed me off. I don't want to see that shit.
Well, what they did to really start getting themselves on the map is they started tagging with their stencil, Patriot Front, their website, but they also started vandalizing the George Floyd statues and the George Floyd memorial. They did it in Brooklyn. They did it in Newark, New Jersey.
I believe, a Patriot Front tag was left there. Did they ever catch any of the vandals in either New York or Newark?
Well, they got them on video. I don't know if they popped them officially yet, but they do have them on video. They do have their license plates and stuff like that. I mean, hell, I've caught them on video, or people or my people caught them on video in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, doing a banner drop. I mean,
yeah. So well, what happens when when racists get caught doing stuff like this is the police give their lawyers a call and make sure that they get a nice, comfortable day to come in and turn themselves in and go through their court
because they didn't do anything illegal. They didn't do anything illegal, so they are.
Well, if they vandalized the statue,
well, it remains to be seen whether or not they're going to get in trouble for that. That's not over. And
other people in society get, summarily ripped, thrown into a car, beaten up, maybe choked to death. Yeah, but, if you're a racist, you get accompanied to the cop car and protected from people and, they'll stand outside your house for a few hours. I mean, it's like you get the royal treatment when you're a white supremacist, but when you're anybody else, if you're a poor dude or, not a white dude, then they're going to do what they do. Come on, man! Like this would have taken forever if African Americans had cracked. I've seen people get arrested quicker in liquor store robberies than this shit. I mean,
and that point was being made. That point was being made, but once again, I said we protect ourselves. And one of the places that they tagged, one of the George Floyd memorials that they tagged and bragged about was in North Philly, Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Well, that was where they decided to hold another one of their flash mobs. It didn't work out as well as they hoped. And you can see for yourself exactly what went down when they showed up. The neighborhood made an appearance. And they cornered them as they were getting out of their trucks, and they had words, or more should I say, they felt it was time to get back into the backs of their Penske trucks. By the way, riding that way is illegal. And they started catching hell. There was people swinging on them. They beat them down and all that. They eventually, we can shut that down. Eventually, they got detained. And because there's videos, the videos are comedy gold, because what happened was they was marching on Dilworth Plaza, which is where City Hall is.
Right. At midnight, by the way, in the middle of the fucking night.
No, 10:30. 10:30.
Was it 10:30 at night? Okay.
10:30. Yeah, they showed up around 10:30.
Brave, courageous warriors that they are.
Yes, indeed. But the problem that they had was they thought that they was going to avoid Philly. Avoid Antifa everywhere they go. See, as long as they don't run into Antifa, they're good. The problem is damn near all of Philly, with the exception of maybe South Philly, is Antifa. And we don't like Nazis in Philly. So when they showed up, we showed up, and you saw what happened there. That was a tame video of what happened in that scene. And like I said, they literally was chased. There's a 4-second video that I can't find right now. Find it on Twitter, where they got basically chased away. Like I said, they had flags. I don't know where the hell those flags went during all of this. So if anybody has a flag, just let us know.
So do we have any names of the people that were there? I mean, are we getting now you'd mentioned, I know that the authorities pulled over the piggies got on this as they left town. They pulled them over.
That's what I'm getting at. The police know.
Okay, all right. I'll let
nobody and Leah, you can show why the police know right now. The police had detained them. Oh, that's Thomas Rousseau, by the way. Thomas Rousseau is allowing. This is one video that I wanted to show, but
with the cowboy hat on.
If you see them lined up, Patriot Front is wearing those white masks, and
Right.
sunglasses at night.
Who's Thomas Rousseau? Is that guy
The guy
driving there, or was it
That's
the guy
Thomas Rousseau right there. That's Thomas Rousseau
in the
right
cowboy
there.
hat and the
Yeah.
very tight khaki pants?
That's the guy who founded Patriot Front.
It's a hell of
Now
a
he got
uniform, boy.
arrested for stickering in Texas not too long ago. He got arrested with the guy who we believe the guy behind the wheel of that Penske truck. His name is Graham Whitson, and they all live in the same house. So,
God.
if you show the other video, Leah, that was what I wanted to show, and then I'm going to put
I
another.
want to take a look at that guy in the cowboy. It looks like Garth Brooks on crystal meth.
That's what truly. This is what happened to Patriot Front when they after they got chased around a little bit, but then sadly they had to go, and the video that I just put into the queue, feel free to put that up, Leah. That was the end result of their day. See, like I said, the Penske's trucks that they came in, it's illegal to ride in the backs of those Penske trucks.
Right.
So this was the end result. They ended up having to walk down the street. They were stranded in Philly, a town that wanted to kick their ass from the minute they touched down there.
Were the cops protecting them?
Yeah, the cops are protecting them. But the interesting thing is, like I said, they said that no one that they detained came from Philly, which means they have their names, they have their information.
That's what I would like to know.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to find out who's now. I believe in one of the mainstream media reports that I took in on this that they said there was a group from Texas.
Yeah.
But my idea is I'm probably assuming that people kind of probably flew in and parachuted in from all over.
And that's the important thing to remember.
Yeah. Because that's kind of a large group. This is just sheer numbers wise, kind of knowing how fringy and how many people may be involved in these groups. It's correct. A large showing for one state to put together.
Well, that's the important thing
about resources. I know as an organizer.
Well, see, that's the important thing about Patriot Front. They organize these things well in advance with all their members from around the country. They fly in. How they keep getting money to do this, how they keep doing it, that's another question. But they fly in from all over the country just to do this. They just had one in Nashville. They didn't have as many numbers as they did here. They had about 50 people. And now, let's be real, they're on the map. They're on the map. People now see them. People now are looking for them. Let me put it like this. When this happened, everybody mistaken them for the Proud Boys. Why? Because the Proud Boys were the ones that were on the map. The Proud Boys were the shiny object. The Proud Boys were the ones that everybody said, look out for it. Now everybody's saying, look out for Patriot Front. Yeah, and they're going to get their asses kicked. Keith Olbermann even was calling them out on Twitter. You got to hear that video.
Well, it's the exposure would be a good thing. Yeah, I'm going to quote you. I mean, from when I believe when this may have been out of Age of Rage, when you said, and it was an interview during Age of Rage where you said these people get exposed via either iDevox or social media or whatever, and they go to these things, they're pumped up, but when they go home and their friends and family find out they were there, they look at them and ask them, what were you doing there? And they have to answer those questions. And unless whether or not they were breaking the law, I don't really care, but I want the people around these idiots to know who their brother, who their cousin, who their coworker is, so that they can understand there's that hate has consequences, man, because
Indeed.
And so I would say that yes, if they were pulled over by the police and they were taken into some kind of questioning and forced off the truck, somebody somewhere should have a list of names, and I know that my email is encrypted, bdp@njrevolutionradio.com. If you have any other way of dropping me a line, let's just say if you're listening to this and have access to this, I would never, ever, ever share a source, and I'll go to jail for as long as it would take to hold that. Jail. Listen, it is what it, man. Listen, these people.
Hey, let's talk about jail.
We need an honest person on inside to do the right thing, and I got a public little forum here. Let's work together.
And so do I, and that's the important thing. And by the way, Warren, I just want to let you know that the show that you saw on Wednesday, the thing about Wednesday and Thursday, that's the show that Brian has every week, and that's where they're going to be talking about the Martin Laurel incident. I just happened to be on the show last week because we didn't do one on Tuesday. By the way, we will not do one next Tuesday, and we will be on for 2 more weeks. Maybe we can get Beth Foster to do a show with us. 2 more weeks, and then we're off all of August unless something pops off that we need to come on for.
Just so our audience knows, Just so our audience knows, though, we'll be filling the gaps, man. We have produced so much stuff on Revolution Radio right now. We're gonna do replays, man. We're gonna put some greatest hits together. You'll get some clips and stuff. We still have 2 more panels to stream from our last event. So, you tune in on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, or Sundays right now. We haven't kind of nailed down the best times to stream stuff out, but we'll be filling the gaps. It's summer too. We got to relax and sit on the beach, drink something with a little umbrella hanging out of it, so you give us a little time. But, I hope our audience knows that, you can catch up on an episode you missed, participate in the chats during the streams. It's just going to be some tape stuff,
Oh, by the way, Bits and Bites, thank you. This flag, by the way, the reason why I have it behind me is because Matthews, Cagney Matthews, the racist from Mount Laurel, as he was getting arrested, he got conked on the back of the head with that particular flag. So as they were leading him out, that was probably one of the craziest perp walks that I ever saw in life. But
the orange soda,
bottles and whatever, and the Black Lives Matter flag behind me.
What is the name? What is the name of the Iraqi activist that threw the shoes at George Bush?
I can't remember.
I don't know his name, and I really should. I don't want to touch my computer because I'll knock my high def camera out. It's streaming right now. Yeah. But I want to title an award after him and give it to
get the name.
Like the guy that get the name, and we'll name that award. We'll get a trophy made, and we want to find the person. I don't want to get nobody in trouble with the police or not like that. Let's make sure we're safe. But the person who hit him in the face with an orange soda should be the first recipient of that award because it was beautiful. It was a Sandy Koufax, slider right down the middle. Whoop and pow.
Well, before we go to the incident, before we go to the interview, I should say, reason why I said incident, because I wanted to get the name of that Iraqi journalist by the name of, we're going to learn how to pronounce this name.
Muqtada al-Zaidi, the Muqtada al-Zaidi Protest Award for the best object, the best protest by throwing an object at a douchebag.
Douchebag being George W. Bush. Hit Dana Perino, unfortunately, but Leah, could you play the other video? Because we got to get back to Patriot Front for a second before we go to them. Now, this particular video might be very important to somebody. Somebody's scared about this video being out there because, look, I am a reporter. I am a writer at the end of the day. I report. That's why you see these videos. I may have a certain bent, but let's face it, that's what I'm about. I got put in Facebook jail for 24 hours, and they removed that video and one of Patriot Front marching off my stream. You can still see it on Instagram, and you can still see it on Twitter, but I got to just let people know that this is what I'm going to talk to Facebook about this. I got to. They didn't give me an option to dispute it, to counter it, unfortunately. But I'm damn sure going to figure out what the hell it is I got to do. But one thing I had been told is that let people know, and then it will draw attention to Facebook, and they realize that you can't just ban people because they're letting people know that Patriot Front is doing shit like this.
I don't know what you can get done as far as with Facebook. I mean, because
I'm going to do something because they can't keep doing this. I mean, the fact of the matter is,
they can though.
They're not doing this to NBC. They're not doing this. They're not doing this to the Nazis. Really, despite their little temper tantrums.
Here's where that oily, greasy shit thing of a constitution we have comes into play. It's a private corporation. Facebook can say whatever. Facebook can ban, and what they're actually doing is using AI. There's nobody like sitting at a computer.
We know. I know. So, but my thing is, I'm still gonna let them know. I mean, it's like what I've been telling people all over the place. In addition to we protect ourselves, we should also make sure that we have our own forms, such as what we have here right now. I have three websites. I mean,
Mark Zuckerberg is running around on an electric surfboard with an American flag, and he's hiring camera crews to videotape this shit. I mean, how are we going to impact a guy with a head like that? I mean,
by not being on Facebook for some folks, because folks have really decided, look, if there was a certain clientele that they're trying to reach that gets scared over people reporting on Nazis and what they're doing and how to stop them, if they are scared of that, then we'll go elsewhere. Facebook is not the first social media and not the only social media network that we have. We had Friendster before. We had MySpace before. We have Twitch. We do have Twitter. We do have
none of them had $1 trillion market value. You know,
but we can make it that way. We can do our own regardless. I
like your spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I like your spirit. We had indie media, and it wasn't $1 trillion media outlet. But the fact of the matter is, we got our words out. We got what we have to say out. We can create our own.
Absolutely, and we have to.
If we have any question.
And we must,
right, does it all the time. Parlor.
But the best reach, the most reach into the proletariat, into educating people who need this kind of stuff because what happens with these, like Parler for all these racists are doing thing is it's creating a media bubble, right? So you're kind of sticking your head up your own ass. And this can happen on the left just like it can happen on the right, man. I mean, we've dealt with our wacky conspiracy theories on the left just so much, and that's a product of isolation. What you have with Facebook is all these different communities on a global scale still being able to interact. I still have people on my feed that have other views than myself for the very reason that I don't want, and I feel like I have in the past, trapped myself in a bit of an information bubble.
There's nothing wrong with creating a social network that still maintains that cross-section of people, cross-section of followers and users, without having to work with Nazis to do it. It could happen. It has happened. They have been kicked to the curb.
Yeah, but is it profitable, Daryl? Is Mark Zuckerberg going to make $50 billion doing it? Because nobody gives a fuck unless they can get rich.
You just want your words out. If you want to make $50 billion, okay, you go do your Facebook.
That's all anybody wants to do under capitalism.
I'm not a capitalist.
Money. Well, we're in a capitalist society. But we're in a capitalist society. We have to acknowledge the power of capital.
To be capitalist. One People's Project has been nickel and diming it for the past 20 fucking years, and we are one of the most influential organizations out there. Okay,
see, I'm rolling in money over here. I got all these bags of money. I trip over them every day. It's paid because,
like I said, I have 3 freaking websites. We're all just rolling in money. I'm being sarcastic when I say that. There is absolutely no excuse in the world why we can't create our own shit. If you build it, they will come.
All right.
We better get to this interview. We're already a half hour in, and we got a 40-minute interview, so we know we're going to be running long. So, all right. Let us get to this interview right now. Again, this is about a brother named Stanislav Tomasz that was murdered by the police in a similar fashion of George Floyd. Christian is with me on this, and the woman that we are interviewing is Gwendolyn Albert. She's a human rights activist from out of the Czech Republic. She's originally from America. She's originally from Oakland. She's going to tell you all about that. She's going to tell her email address. Her web address is romea.cz/en, and you'll be able to learn a lot more about what she's about there. Let's go to that. First of all, I want to welcome you to the show. I'm glad you was able to take the time to talk to us. You're American, correct?
That's right. I'm from Oakland, California.
And you're living in the Czech Republic now?
Yes, I've been here. I've been living here on and off for about the last 30 years.
And what brought you out? What brought you out there?
It's a very long story, but basically I studied Czech.
Uh-huh.
And I came here, and the first time was in 1988. Mm-hmm. And I came back in 1989 to study linguistics. And it was still Czechoslovakia at that time, still the communist regime. Mm-hmm. And I was actually here during the events that began the transition to democracy, the demonstrations, and all around that same time that the Berlin Wall came down. So that was I participated in a lot of that, and it was really life-changing. Mm-hmm. And I've basically been living here during the whole time that the country has gone through its transition. It's not Czechoslovakia anymore. It's now two different countries, Czech Republic and Slovakia. And yeah, I love it here. I have a lot of wonderful friends and people to be with.
And what brought you to doing the work that you're doing now? I mean, obviously that definitely had an impact, but we're talking about police brutality. We're talking about a situation that was similar to what happened to George Floyd. It was, never mind similar, a mirror image of what happened.
Just about, yes. I've been involved in human rights work for most of that time. In fact, dealing with how the police were going to respond in the year 2000 when the IMF and the World Bank held their big meetings here in Prague. Mm-hmm. I was involved with the groups that were trying to make sure that we would be able to communicate to all the many, many demonstrators coming from all over the world to protest that event about what they could expect from the police, what to do if they're arrested, et cetera. So I've been, and I've worked with human rights groups that have dealt with very serious issues of death in custody before. Mm-hmm. So what led me to it was, you know, I've been living here and almost immediately noticed when I was living in a small town in the South that there is a real problem in this society with the segregation of Romani people and with basically their dehumanization. Mm-hmm. And so I've been involved in many different aspects of this. There's a lot of issues to do with segregation in the schools here. There's been a lot of issues around trying to get a really dignified remembrance for the Romani people who were targeted by the Nazis and rounded up and sent to Auschwitz. For a very long time, there was an industrial pig farm with about 13,000 pigs that was built on the site of a former concentration camp where Romani people had been held. And helping the people whose people died there get that farm removed was something that I on and off assisted with for about 20 years. And I'm glad to say that actually we did succeed, and the pigs are gone, and it doesn't smell bad anymore when the people go there every year to pay their respects. And there's some dignity coming to that, but that's about something that happened 70 years ago. Right. And here we are today with this very unsettling video. The main parallel between George Floyd and this case is that there was a bystander who was brave enough to film the whole thing and upload it online and deal with the aftermath of doing that. And the fact that many people have been able to see the intervention means that there have been actually demonstrations of solidarity all over Europe, in many European capitals, in front of the Czech embassy, and people are really calling for justice in this case. The parallels, if you get very sort of nitpicky about the parallels, they break down a little bit. What preceded this incident was that Mr. Tomasz was in an altercation with another person. And there's video footage that was shot of him prior to the police arriving on the scene that shows him having fallen to the ground at more than one moment. And apparently when the police arrived, he was already prone on the ground and injured, according to the statements that they've made. And
police made.
Yes. And yet the response to him was not to immediately call an ambulance, but to proceed with what you see in the video, including the handcuffing behind the back and the kneeling. Right. And he died. He died in their custody.
All right, we're going to take a look at the video, and you can feel free to give commentary as we watch it. This is going to be the first time I'm watching it. I don't know if Christian saw it yet.
I watched a part of it. Yeah, it's very graphic, folks.
It is. It's quite shocking. Yeah.
Yes.
So, there's a warning.
All right, so we may begin. That is 5 minutes and 55 seconds.
No to bylo v zprávách, ne? Že takhle musím toho jednoho. Hej, Max, skoč se však mu lamounaj všechno.
No a?
But you have 2 cops on here.
Yeah.
To je Lukša, víc bydlí Vornický.
Však ho udusí.
No a?
Co no a?
Těch práce. Co udělal, nevíte?
Mazejte o to, jak David má. On je podrobný. Nekydejně. Zůstaňte, leďte. Leďte na zemi. Tak co dělá?
Ty už stejně budou muset ještě zase letkout jako do toho, protože oni nebudou stav.
Jak budete tam vstup do toho okna? Ten debil dáme uklouzne, tak poletí.
Nelez tam! Natále mi nás se dohlídá.
To je debil. To je debil. To je úplně retard. Nikolo! 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 Kurka nebrečí ti, pojď si nahoru. Pojď si nahoru.
Nevíte, jestli má nějakou nemoc? Jaká žloutenka, HIV? A je pána se na toho tu.
Natále, nedělá to dělat.
Ne, to taky úplně jedno.
Ty běž taky od toho okna. Palosko. Jari jaj. Mare. Maminka šla na trasu. Teď ti berou policajti.
To nedříve bude ještě víc brečet, mámo.
A to hlídá.
Dokša, uklidni se. Když pomůžu, oni chytou to druhýho. Nespírej se.
Protože jeho zmátili a chytli jeho. To je co?
To jsem já hladná. Ty, Dokša.
Jak ty to můžeš vidět?
Protože slyším asi ne.
Jeez, man.
Halo? Kdyby taky nelez na skříň, tak si to nedávají ani na stranu, mi to nezajímá.
Péťo.
Takže můžeš, když to pomůže. Celý je skakovaný.
Za ním.
So he's obviously been quiet for some time now here.
Yeah. Are these
clear.
like? I'm sorry. Like, is this like a community? This is a Roma community that they're in right now.
Yes.
These are his people that are surrounding them right
Yes.
now.
Yes, the parallels are incredible. It's a Roma neighborhood. It was Roma people who called the police to the scene in the first place, actually, because of the altercation that happened. And you can see there that the sitting on him happens long after he stops resisting at all.
Yeah.
And the response of the police after this video came out was unfortunately another parallel to the really bad communications that happened in the immediate aftermath of George Floyd's death. In this case, the police released information that basically, where they basically tried to say that they knew for sure that he had not died until he was in an ambulance. They called this footage doesn't show it, but they called an ambulance to the scene at some point. And the initial information was that he had died in the ambulance. Then a preliminary autopsy report was released that indicated that he had some kind of drug in his body. And the media took that and ran with it and said, oh, this is just a drug overdose case.
Very similar to the United States.
Very similar. And then all the politicians piled on. And mind you, the investigation is not done. Yeah. The investigation of the whole first part of this, who was Mr. Tomasz in an altercation with? What was the story? We still don't know the answer to that. And now there's going to be an investigation of the police intervention itself, because, the police are not just supposed to arrest you left, right, and center. They're also supposed to try and save your life if they can. Mm-hmm. And that did not happen in this case from what we just saw in this video. So a lot of people are pretty upset about it. And yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to point out for everybody who wants some idea of what the timeline is here. This was on the 19th of June. And that was only, 6 days, pretty much a week before the sentencing of Derek Chauvin.
Yes.
The police officer here in Minneapolis.
That's right.
You said there's an investigation. Do we even have the names of the officers that were involved?
No.
They do that.
We have no officers' names. Those officers are still on duty, as far as we know. No, it's pretty clear to me as a person who has observed the police in this country that the fact that there would be public outcry about this incident has taken the police by surprise. I mean, everything's sort of about the way they are there and the community is around them. I mean, you see at one point, some people coming actually very close and they're speaking to Mr. Tomasz. They're telling him to calm down. They're trying to help de-escalate the situation.
That happened with Floyd's situation too. Yeah.
Also, yeah. And now that of course we know that those are his last minutes of life, people are very upset, and there's been all kinds of, sort of recriminations. People saying, why didn't anybody intervene against the police? I mean, the answer is obvious. One doesn't automatically intervene against the police unless one is really dedicated. And so it's clear to me that they did not expect to ever have to explain this in what they did. And now they're going to have to explain it. And unfortunately, we have elections coming up here in the fall to the lower house. And that means that there's a lot of political mileage to be gotten out of praising the police, even though the investigation is not over. Yeah. So the prime minister praised the police, the president praised the police, the interior minister praised the police president praised the police. And the media has characterized this man, Mr. Tomasz, as a drug addict and a recidivist. And the whole response has been about smearing his character and patting the police on the back and saying, "Go team." And that's just not acceptable.
And I was going to ask you, incidentally, what kind of person was Mr. Tomasz? I mean, we've been talking about him in this situation, but who was he in a nutshell?
I to be honest with you, there's not a lot of information that has come out about him.
Really?
No, not there. The situation around the people who know him has been extremely tense. So all kinds of people are very angry about this and have been pressuring the people who know him best in different ways. As far as we know, he's survived by his mother, who has Alzheimer's. So that's hard. And by his sister, who is very, very distraught about all of this. It's not like there's a ton of people in his corner who really know him to stand up and say, which is not like the case of George Floyd, right? I mean, I watched George Floyd's funeral here in Prague on CNN when it was broadcast live internationally. Yeah, I mean, it's a global event what happened to George Floyd. And that makes it all the more incredible to me that the police here don't really understand as we say these days, the optics of what this looks like, yeah, to those of us who follow such things. But on the other hand, it doesn't surprise me that much because I know how the George Floyd case was described here in the Czech media. Mm-hmm. I know what the focus was of most of the coverage. Most of the coverage was on the unrest and discussions of whether the police did what he did correctly, were minimal. In fact, they were so minimal that this time last year, on the 4th of July, 2020, the Czech president went to the party at the US Embassy and expressed his sympathies to the US ambassador over these horrible riots that are happening in the United States.
Question?
I would say, so we automatically know what we're dealing with these politicians. I mean, there was a couple questions I wanted to ask, and I feel like you've already answered them. In terms of like media and the Roma people, do they trust the media? Do they get access to the media? Do they have alternative media? How do they get their voices out?
Well, people all around Europe have done a pretty good job sort of on their own. Broadcasting on Facebook, there's been a lot of social media work. There is alternative media, but even the alternative media for whom I work, the Roma organization, Romea.cz is the website that covers a lot of Roma-related issues. But, no community is a monolith. So there are plenty of people today who actually would prefer to be their own, anchor of communication, and who broadcast on their own and give their own spin to what they see going on, which is fine. There's not a lot of in the Czech Republic, we're slowly kind of bringing everybody together around this case, which it's terrible that this has happened, but if something comes out of it in terms of people understanding how to exercise their rights and defend everybody in the future, then that will be something that will be a victory of sorts. I mean, the thing is, this is like one of the only cases that there's ever been footage of, but this happens to Roma people all over Europe. Mm-hmm. The European Roma Rights Center, which is a public interest law organization, estimates that slightly under half of all the cases they've ever dealt with have to do with various permutations on this theme. The Roma and the police encounter each other, and someone's rights are violated.
Where does the Czech Republic rank in terms of states in Eastern Europe that may or may not be good for Roma people, would you say?
Well, that's an interesting question. First of all, people here would like to be considered Central Europe and not Eastern Europe. I feel I must tell you that.
Oh boy. I apologize for my ignorance.
It's okay. This is a wealthy country by now. So, and the population is very small. The Roma population here is very small. It's probably at the very most 2.5% to 3% of the population. So this is not a group that has political clout in any sense. They have no representatives in the national legislature. They have like a handful of mayors throughout the whole country, or people in regional administrations and stuff. They have been really subjected to a very strict kind of segregation in just about every area of life that it would take me too long to explain. But that is ongoing, and it's an intergenerational problem, which means that they are really perceived as inferior by many, many people here. And there are these sort of relentless public opinion polls that are held here every quarter, and people say, who do you like least? which ethnic group do you like least here? And the Roma are the top of the list always, and they're the top of the list for about 80% of the respondents. So it's an extreme situation here. And the thing is, the thing that makes it even more extreme than, for example, a country like Bulgaria or Romania or Slovakia even, in those countries there are more Romani people and they are worse off. They live in greater poverty, greater visual poverty. Yeah. People living in places without running water, this kind of thing. But because the numbers in those countries are larger, the Roma people in a lot of those countries actually have a better political grip on representing themselves than here in the Czech Republic. Here in the Czech Republic, there's sort of a 50-50 split between people who are terribly destitute and then people who go and become doctors and lawyers and access higher education and all the rest of it. And there has also been, over the last 30 years, something that I think is really very sad. And that is sort of a constant outflow of Romani people emigrating to countries where they know that their Romani identity will not be so salient and where they will be able to be just treated like anybody else. So in the 90s, it was Canada. Many, many people emigrated to Canada. More recently, it's been to Ireland or to Great Britain. And, it's a problem. It's a real problem that this country has yet to secure equal treatment for these people who have lived here they've lived here for 600 years. We're not talking about, people who arrived yesterday. There's a long series of ways in
primordial
which
hatred.
Centuries.
Yeah, exactly.
Their role has been defined for them.
Man, I mean, I think this is one of the reasons why I really am interested in talking about this and wanting to do something, because I think it's not just the fact that there are so many parallels to Mr. Toma's case with the George Floyd case, but what you're telling us right now is something that we are unaware of here in this country. I'm not going to say we don't have any animosity towards the Romani people here, because I'm quite sure that in certain circles you can most certainly find it, but it's not as prevalent as you would say in Central Europe. And I think it's important, especially considering the parallels between this and the George Floyd case, that we in this country pay attention to what's going on out there. They're most certainly paying attention to what's going on here.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
it was Roma people, young Roma people themselves who said this is the Czech George Floyd. Mm-hmm. And immediately, the media said, "Oh, poo-poo, no, it's not."
No, yes.
But and not everybody agrees with that. Yeah, there are some Romani people who say maybe this is a dangerous parallel, or maybe this is a sloppy parallel, or whatever. It's too late. Some people have said it, and Roma Lives Matter is a thing now, and frankly always should have been, because the most important parallel to me is in the police. What do the police think they get to do? To whom? That's the most important thing.
Well, if they're going to be paying attention to us, hopefully we'll be able to show everybody how to handle their police. But maybe it's a dream. But
yeah, the legal systems are very different. Are very different. So we'll see.
I do know one thing that's similar. People out there who are trying to do something about this case are going to need support.
Yes.
And who are out there in the streets. How do folks here support y'all?
In the United States, support us.
Yes.
In the Czech Republic.
Or
or the
anybody?
Roma
How does anybody
people in
support
Europe.
you?
You know, I think it would be great if there would be a way to ask the people who have been drawing attention, exactly like what you're doing right now, asking me on to discuss this. If people could do more of this information sharing.
Exactly.
Because that's the key, is to draw the threads. Yeah, these systems are very similar, and we need to understand how we can fix them. And to that end, I think it would just be great if I mean, I don't know if there have been any events in the Czech Republic, not in the Czech Republic, in the United States around this, but it could be interesting to hold some kind of, awareness raising event, for example, at a Czech embassy or something. Or it could be interesting also to get in touch with Roma groups in the US and learn from them about what they are undergoing in the United States, because that's a very underreported phenomenon also. But you know, what you were saying about not knowing about Roma people, this was the biggest thing for me when I moved here, was my ignorance. Yeah. I mean, I moved here and I thought I knew, because I had studied the language and I was ready. And you don't hear anything about this racialized minority that has been living for 1,000 years in Europe and enduring what they've endured. And when you hear about Europe in the US, it's just all la la la, right?
Yeah, I want to ask you, Gwendolyn. I'm sorry. I got to ask. I'm interested in the connections, right? Like we see the similarities with George Floyd. We see the similarities with media. If we could just go a little bit into that. We see the police misdirection. We see them trying to gaslight everyone, the Roma community. And what kind of links have you found between the police in the Czech Republic and the far right? Do those links exist in the Czech Republic, and do you see them?
The Czech Republic has had a big struggle with this, and the police have actually made progress on that recently, and they've been very open about making progress on it. It's a problem. The problem of the far right is a problem in the Czech Republic. Catering to the far right is part and parcel of this discourse that was engaged in around this death so far. There's a far right party, or sort of ultranationalist party, that is in parliament, and nobody wants to lose any more votes to them. And so as with Trump and the base, the tough talk is meant to cater to that desire. We periodically hear about people in both the armed forces and in the police who are discovered by the police and kicked out of the police here. The laws here are stricter than they are in the United States. It's not possible for certain things to be said here, whereas in the US it's a free-for-all. In this country, there is a law against calling for somebody else's rights to be curtailed, and they're pretty clear on what constitutes the breach of that. Now, in May, before this incident happened, there was another place in this country where there was some inter-ethnic violence going on, and a member of the far right was actually hospitalized. and his friends called a demonstration spontaneously. And at that demonstration, they shouted all kinds of things that they should not have been allowed to shout. But the police responded with riot units and did not allow them to march into the Roma part of town. That's what they were hoping to do. And just for context, 10 years ago, 2011, 2013, we had a real problem in the north of the country with people who basically every weekend, kind of an attempt at a pogrom or a lynch mob was just basically the local entertainment every weekend. And the police had to go up and try to make sure weekend after weekend that the Roma that no one's life was going to be lost. I have to say that when push comes to shove, the police do a good job of protecting, doing that very basic protection. Where what they're not great at is dealing with counter protest, and they see Antifa people as extreme. So there were yeah. So there have been some very sad cases of police not doing well with the or mistreating counter protests to the fascists. But all of that has died. Like, we're at the end of the pandemic here, or maybe it's reviving again a little bit. A lot of that energy has been channeled into protests against the COVID restrictions, anti-vaxxer stuff. There was a horrible event that they organized in January where they went out and they were using yellow stars.
Yes.
And
that just happened here in the United States. This week, there was a lawmaker, I forgot where, who was trying to give a speech. He was giving a speech and he was wearing a yellow star. And for me, my wife is a Jewish woman and she's a Holocaust educator. So I see that, and the ignorance, it's red baiting, whatever, Jew baiting, whatever you want to call it. It's offensive.
I also don't even know how much we should really be saying ignorance anymore.
No, they know what they're doing. It's intentional.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Proud white suprematist garbage.
We told them enough times.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I know you said you only had a limited amount of time, but I definitely want to stay in touch. I'm following you now on Twitter, so I might not be able to read everything, but I follow.
I try to do both languages, so hopefully
Twitter translates. I'll get it. Okay. But I definitely, and the main reason why is because, listen, I want to keep up on what's going on out there. I want to keep up with what's going on in all of Europe, as well as Asia and Africa and places like that. Because I think it's about that time. It's about that time. We need to start building an international coalition against this kind of nonsense. I think that's going to make all the difference in the world.
Well, when George Floyd happened, people here went out and protested. People in Prague went out and protested.
Perfect example.
All over Europe. In France, banned kneeling on people's necks. The police can't do that anymore. It is possible. The European authorities, the European Parliament issued a very big statement saying, don't criticizing this racism. But you see that when it comes to the Romani community, the response is very different.
I can tell because this is the second time. We had someone on earlier, the woman that introduced us to you, and she was telling us, Tanya was telling us exactly how bad it was out there, and we was like, why are we missing this? And the answer is, we're Americans. We always miss this. It's time to change that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for your interest, and
Thank
we will speak again.
Yes, we will, most certainly. Thank you.
It was nice to
All
meet
right.
you. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, you bet. Take care.
Take care. Thank you. And that was
That's a wrap. I think that was a
that's
great
the
interview.
wrap. That was good. That was real good. I liked it. Brian, I know you wanted to be in on that interview, but unfortunately you couldn't do it. What's your take on what you heard?
Well, I'm glad we knew it was about 6 minutes long because I stepped away for 6 minutes. I'll be honest with you. I'm not into snuff. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to explain that real quick too.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be put out there, but and you warned your audience, and I'm one of the people that take those warnings. And I did watch about I would say about 30 seconds of it before I reminded myself that I don't like watching those things, and it's. But I'm glad we brought this to an American audience. I was clear, I pay attention when an activist gives asks, and one of the things we've always done here on Revolution Radio and in the IDAVOX report and everything is make sure at the end of our interviews we say, like, what do you want people to do who are listening to this? And I'd like to reiterate for her, she wants to see some action over here on the American side, and I think that those of us that protested in a number of Black Lives, and honestly, man, I could take you back to the Wisconsin uprisings when they fucked with the teachers unions over there.
Oh yeah,
national support, seeing support in Egypt, seeing like from Egypt to Wisconsin signs. Mm-hmm. Because it was during the Arab Spring that it was kind of all timed, and there's been a number of Palestinian Black Lives Matter cooperation, and those are beautiful things because, man, like you can't sit here and be an activist and be involved in the struggles here in America and listen to an interview with her or with people in Europe and not draw parallels and know that what you do here matters. I mean, I talked to so many Black Lives Matter activists. Like when we saw that Palestinian crowd with a BLM sign, like we knew there was solidarity there. Return the favor is what I would return the favor.
And Christian was telling. I'm sorry, but Christian was telling us that after we talked after the interview, and we said we got to start building that global network, and we're going to do that. It can start with us. One People's Project and Revolution Radio. It can start with us. We have the wherewithal. We have the desire to do so. So I'm just telling everybody right now. I've done a few webinars. In recent months, one in Norway, one out of Norway, another out of Germany. The one in Norway is how I am connected with everybody that brought us to this thing. And we're just telling people who can, who hear me, listen, let's just start talking. Let's start trying to talk to everybody about what you're dealing with out there where you live. I don't give a damn whether or not we can speak English or not. The truth of the matter is, hate comes in many languages, but there's only one that they're going to, one that they don't like, the language of information.
Yeah,
and we provide that. So, and that brings me to the whole thing about the video. Listen, I know a lot of people, ranging from burned out to disgusted, that people would put out broadcast videos such as that. But the truth of the matter is, posting those videos, putting those videos out is the reason why a lot of these, is the reason why these cases have gone forward. I think I said it earlier on this show that it shouldn't take us having video for police to start being held accountable for these actions that they have engaged in for generations. And it most certainly should not be the reason why we all step up and take action. But sadly, that's been the case. And look, if it's what's motivating people, if it's what getting people out there, it's the fact that they actually have to see how bad it is, then by all means, we got to do it. I will warn you whenever we post these kinds of things. And so if anybody was weirded out by the fact that video was posted during this broadcast, I do apologize, but there was.
No, I don't think you owe anybody any apologies. You gave a warning, and I think it's important that it gets out there. It's that disturbing. I think it's that it's that. It should be that disturbing. I hope there were people out there that couldn't listen because you're hearing a guy get murdered. You're watching a man get murdered, and it's nothing short of that. And that should horrify anybody. If you can stand it and you can watch it, then okay. And I agree that it should be out there. But for me, I don't. I value human life too much to be able to watch it get snuffed out like that. I can't Imagine the mindset of a person that murders somebody like that in slow motion for 6 minutes. It's sickening to think there's people out there like that with uniforms on all over the world.
Truly. And I do
We have a lot to do with this species. We have much to do.
This was an important show. That's how come we went long. We're almost at 9:30 now, and we normally out of here at 9 o'clock. So we're going to bounce out of here. But before we do, once again, Brian's going to be talking about the Mount Laurel incident tomorrow.
Yes. Siobhan Torres is going to be on NJR Live, 8 p.m. right here on the Revolution Radio Network. And thanks, Dara, for all you do for us here. And, if there's comrades out there that want to talk about something in support of the Roma people, I know One People's Project can help lead the way. And we'll be right here for you, too, as well.
Thank you. And if anybody's trying to get a hold of us, we're going to be going to, and Brian, hold up, because we're going to be showing a you don't have to stay, but there's going to be one video, and then we go to the outro. I'm just doing an audible here, but it'll be just a little present for everyone, because clean your palate from the video that we had to show. It's a video that we're just going to enjoy. But before we get to that, I just want to let you know you can reach us at onepeoplesproject.com. You can find us on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at D. Lamont Jenkins. You can find me on Twitter at D. Lamont Jenkins. But One People's Proj, PROJ, on Twitter, Idavox, OPP, at Idavox, OPP on Twitter. And you can find me, Darryl Lamont Jenkins, provided that they won't ban me entirely on Facebook. On Facebook. So without further ado, we're going to leave you with this final video that I think you guys will enjoy.
Get these fucking monkeys out of here, and you can't do shit. That's me talking shit. 3602 Gramercy Way, that's where I live. Come fucking see me.